Hi friends! If you click to check out 4 looks using an oldie but a goodie, Urban Decay's Born to Run palette, then please keep on watching. Hi, my name is Alicia. If it's your first time here, thank you so much for clicking on my video. And if you are returning, well, thank you for visiting me again. Kinky Sweat stands for my kinky hair and sweat life. I'm a fitness professional who loves things all movement and booty. If you want to check out what I do in between the makeups, you can head over to my Instagram. This video was inspired by my most recent If I Could Only Pick, Keep, Have 10 eyeshadow palettes video, and I was inspired by the fact that many of these palettes I haven't visited in quite some time, namely the Urban Decay one. It was at a time where even though I had this camera, I didn't have a mic and my lighting situation wasn't the best, and I didn't have like my eyeshadow application video groove, and I wanted to revisit this palette because I feel it has so much to offer. And I thought, why not dive back in, do 4 looks with it, and see if we can use the palettes that we already have in our collection. And if you're not a palette person, if you have a bunch of singles, maybe this will then inspire you to make your own Urban Decay Born to Run palette and get cracking. I will have all the complexion products I have on today down below in the description box. And with all that out the way, why don't we come in a little closer? Let's take this off, and I'll be back in a minute. Prepping all looks with the matte paint pot in soft ochre. What shall we dive into first? You know what I kind of want to do? I want to dissect this palette into, is it not quints, but the next one up in 6s. So we could dive into this one, then maybe we could do the next eye with this one, or just hop right over and do this one. And the next 2 eyes will be somewhere in the middle. How does that sound? And this is not to say you have to use this strategy. The Capricorn in me loves organization, but the Aquarian in me is excited for the creativity. So I need a little bit of both. Breakaway with my Isom W21. I believe this is a duochrome that has a pink flip in it. It's hard to see, it's very lightweight. And I think, you know, nice to add as a brow bone highlight, or even just as a standout lid color. And I'm just building it up here because it's very soft and it's not intimidating whatsoever. Baja with my Hakuhodo J5522. Bring that all over the crease. The thing I really loved about this palette also is just how easy the mattes were to blend. And I also found there wasn't a lot of kickback in the pans. Building this up a lot because I want this to be our primary transition shade, and once I have the majority of the shadow on the crease, I start to then blow it out beyond that point. Isom S33 with that same Baja shade, but now with windshield wiper motions to make it appear more concentrated throughout the crease, and also to build it a little more here on the outer corner. Looking nice, friends. Now with Hell Ride, tapping that right on the outer part of the lid, concentrating it right here, punching that on top of Baja. I like to tap the majority of the color onto the lid first, and then with whatever left over I have on the brush, that's when I start to diffuse it. And I have the first brush we started with, the fluffy brush that you might have as well, to just further blur the edges. Building a little bit with Punk. With my Refer number 14 brush, I just want to lightly tap that color on the very base of the lash line. And I'm building it up slowly so I can maintain control. I just want a little more smoke here on the outer corner. And notice that I'm tapping on the shade and not sweeping it in, because I want it to stick. You might have to take your time with this method. I'm going in with a blending brush initially because I want to be able to switch my technique right away without having to change the brush. But you most certainly can use a shader brush to deposit the shadow first and then switch your brush to then swirl and twirl. I'm creating like a bracket, if you can see it, so it could look very hazy on the outer part of the eye, and the smaller brushes helps with that control. I'm gonna hop over to the next column and go into Double Life with my Sonergy Builder 3. Just inside that bracket we had with, what's it called? Punk. I fill up that space. This shade has like a pink flip to it. It's so pretty. Same brush with Wild Heart, and taking it right on the inner part of the eye with Double Life. and just bringing those two shimmers together. So that pink from the flip, I feel is matching so beautifully with Wild Heart. I'm taking that same Refer number 14 brush we used to apply the dark brown, but taking Wild Heart now in the inner part of the eye and just really expanding on that placement. Baja with my J5522 to just zhuzh everything together. Stranded Hakuhodo J242. On the inner corner, but almost like outside inner corner as well, to kind of come around that placement of Wild Heart. And also bring it some under the lash line as well. Can't help it, have to go in with Accelerate. I know I'm skipping over Rose, but I just need to try on the color. With my Sonia G Pencil Pro all over the lower lash line. Next, Blaze. I think this is the shade with the pink flip. More on the, yeah, that's what it is. I thought this first shimmer we applied had the pink flip, but it's Blaze. It's so pretty. I think it goes beautifully with Accelerated. Accelerate. Accelerate. I think this is the Refer 14, and the smaller brush we used here is the 13. Maybe. I don't know. Punk with my 13 then. The outer lower lash line connecting to what we got happening up top. No additional product with my J5522, but maybe I want to put on a little bit of Hell Ride with my Tuckahoe Z11 brush. This is a squirrel hair brush. It's going to pick up less product because I want this to look a little more hazy, but I don't want it to look overwhelming in application. So I'm using a much softer brush just to apply it right under the lash line and also bring everything together so it could just look a little more diffused. I'm going to also do something here as well. A little bit of Baja in the mix. Yeah, we go. There we go. All right, eye one is done. Let's start with these two rows, and we'll start it off with Riff with my Isam G34 with this shade into the crease. That on its own already is beautiful all over the lid, and you're good to go. I think I'm gonna go in with Radio now with my Sonia G Jumbo Blender. This is a very peculiar, it's not like a true blue, it's more like a midnight blue, which I really like. I'm tapping that on to get maximum color payoff. I'm keeping it mostly under the crease. Now with Wonderlust over, what is this first color called? Over Radio, because I think I want to create like a gradient of from blue to the green Wonderlust to that lighter blue shade on the inner corner. Big Sky with my Isam W21. Now on the inner part of the eye. And you have like a really nice from blue forest green to like a light steel blue going on here. It's really pretty. Isam S33 with the Smog. And this is what I'll use to smoke everything out. I know it's not a traditional matte, but I think it's a nice way to kind of zhuzh everything together. But I don't want it to get out of hand, so I'm gonna use softer pressure so that could be a little cleaner. You know what? I just wiped it away. I'm dabbing whatever leftover primer I had on my little brush, using Radio, that first blue shade we applied, and then pulling it out from here. I think that was the better choice. I was combining too many things. Going in with Riff with my Tuckahoe Z11 to just feather out the edges. Wengas number 4 with Radio again, finessing this point, lifting my brows so I can see what needs to be blended. There we go. Now we're smoothing things out. And if you ever have just leftover primer or concealer, you use your buffer brush to just clean up the edges. Now with Smog, with my Isam W23 on the majority of my lower lash line, because even though this is a bronze, it has like a nice smokiness to it. Taking Wonderlust, the green shade we applied on the center of the lid with the same brush, and now on the outer lower third, I'm actually gonna punch that on. Better. I'm just carefully sweeping the edges here, but I don't. Oh God, I got a little reckless. Oh boy. You know what, friends? I'm just gonna start all over again. I left that footage so you can see my mistake but to also kind of lead you into the possibilities of applying all those blue, green, light blue metallic shades on the lid. I'm restarting, but I want to flip it. I actually want to put smog all over the lid and show you how you can incorporate the blue metallics in this palette in a way that's not as prominent like we started with by applying them on the lid. A little low key, but on the lower lash line. So we'll start this party again with Riff. If you're a neutral lover, and even though you have this palette and you still don't know how to incorporate the blues, then maybe we can do it in this way. Good as gone, my Hakuhodo B142. I'm gonna tap that on the outer part of the lid. Get the majority of the shadow there first, and then start to sweep it in. Z11 with Riff, just to further blur out those shades. Now smog with my Sonoji Worker 3. All over the lid. Tapping to get the majority of the color on. In fact, I'm going to apply with my finger so I could get a little more color payoff. This palette's a little old, so they might have dried out a little bit. So I would recommend that you apply with a little Vicks Plus, or you apply with your finger instead of a brush. Tapping in more Good as Gone, just to make sure these shades look smooth. All right, so that is your neutral lid. So now with Radio, tap that on the outer part of your lower lash line. I'm tapping because I don't want to sweep and smudge the shades together. If anything, use your finger to just carefully combine them, but not with the brush. Wanderlust, tapping that on the center of our lower lash line. You can, even if you don't have sensitive eyes, you could probably place it on the waterline as well. In fact, that's what I'm going to do. Now with Big Sky, inner lower lash line. I'm gonna press it up against that portion, combine it with Wanderlust, and also bring it up towards the upper part of the inner corner. I'm punching in also more Wanderlust as well with the same brush, so I'm just building up the color here, as well as with Radio. Taking the Z11 but whisking lightly, not crazily, yeah? And look at this, my Cassette S185. Very light pressure with the very edges of the blue. I don't want to mess this up again, and just lightly tapping Good as Gone too with the same brush. Hello, can you be in focus please? And just whisking them together. All right, let's apply some lashes and I'll be right back. Here's a close-up of both eyes. On the lashes, I have Ardell Naked Lashes in the style 421. And here you have like a beautiful bronzy smoke moment with the trifecta of blues and greens on the lower lash line. And then you have the magenta with the orange, which is a classic combination. We've seen it before, but I especially love that flip in that pinky bronze shade on the other side of the palette, paired with Wanderlust, that satin magenta. It's just a beautiful pairing. And here's a wide shot of both looks. On the lips, I have Pat McGrath's Perma Lip Gel Liner in contour, topped with Gucci Satin Beige Finish Lipstick in Penny Beige. I love both looks, especially this one. This is a classic combination for me with the magentas and the oranges, but I'm really happy we put the blues and greens on the bottom lash line just to show you can still do a neutral eye if you insist on the lid, but you could also play with the blues in a way that doesn't have to be necessarily applied on the lid. You can combine them in several ways. You can even make all this bronze and just apply the lighter light blue on the inner corner, or you keep it here on the lower inner third. But just to show you, you don't have to use just one shadow from a palette. We used, let's see here, we used all 9 shadows for just this one eye, because it's all about building, it's all about combining, and that actually helps the shadows last longer. And the more layers you apply, the less likely they'll fade throughout the day. So building up those textures and also improving the saturation helps a lot. And on the other side of the palette, even though Smog was with these blues, I mean, you could have just used the blues all by themselves, but why not bring the bronze and the more neutral shades into the picture? I think it's such a fun mix. So hopefully this gave you a little inspiration in that respect. Since we did the 6 here, well, we did 9, but we started off wanting to do 6 and 6. We can then use this 9 pan section for both eyes and see what we come up with. So with that said, I'll see you back here in a minute. Reference number 1 with Guilt Trip. This shade, although a shimmer, I feel like a satin too, so we could kind of zhuzh this across the crease. And since this brush is fluffy but kind of flat at the same time, I could use it to apply the shade on the lid first, flip it, and then use a swirl and twirl to get it through the crease. You could very much well just wear that all over the lid as one color, or I should say one look. Still shot with my G35. Buffing the edges of Guilt Trip. I think this is a beautiful combination. Anytime you have like a peachy coral with a purple, is good to me. You could also combine it with Wild Heart as well, that magenta matte. Hell Ride. Sorry. Looking good. Ignite with my Refer P22. I lied again. P21 on the inner part of the eye. Just dab it on top of Guilt Trip. I'm taking Guilt Trip with my finger and patting more on the majority of the lid to get a little more purple. Next with Drift, definitely taking that on the center of this eye. And why not go in with Big Sky? I know you already used this shade, but I just think it looks so nice with, or maybe not, I don't know. I'm gonna dab that here. Yeah, maybe not the most cohesive combination, but I'm gonna stick with it. Taking more Drift here near the crease, patting that down around near the outer corner because I want to go in with Jet Set to smoke it out. Jet Set S33, tapping that on the majority of the outer corner first, tapping to deposit, and then we'll start to swirl. I'm being very careful here because I don't want this to get out of hand. With that said, using gentle pressure, not going crazy fast. All right, that's good. We did it. Using my concealer brush to gently just clean up the lower edge of that wing. I'm still going in and buffing the edges of this black. Going with Wild Heart on the lower lash line for this side. In fact, let's tap that on to get maximum color payoff. Then Guilt Trip on the lower inner third, tapping and gently swiping as well. Stranded for inner corner moment, tapping around, I think is Ignite that we applied here. We could actually go in with Weekender and just gently go over the edges of Jet. This is the Wayne Goss number 3 brush with the squirrel hair. This is such a sharp line. What is happening? Just pressing that in so it could look a little less crazy. Well, that's fun. Lower inner third with Smog. The bronze we applied on top on the first duo, but now I want it to go here. Then Drift on the outer portion, connecting it to what's happening on the top. Stamp and pull, Jet Set. And this is, I'm so sorry, I use some S31 pencil brush. I'm stamping instead of sweeping so I stay in control of this application. Weekender with my number 3 Wayne Goss brush just to carefully feather out the edges. Ignite. I know this is kind of crazy putting Ignite as the inner corner, but you know what? I'm just gonna go with it. Pulling it around the lighter blue shade. You know what? I don't like that. I tried it and I don't like it. Just re-stamped some eye primer, reapplied a little bit of Smog. Let's just do Breakaway. Going in with my Refer number 3. I know I could have gone in with the blue. Maybe a little bit of Big Sky. It could be a collaborative effort. All right. Let's slap on some lashes and I'll be right back. Here's a close-up of both looks on the lashes. Same Ardell Naked Lashes in the style 421. And we have maybe a little bit of blue, but this Drift shade has such like a beautiful silvery look to it. I mean, the shine of it is incredible. And I love how we paired it with Smog. It gave you a nice neutral breath of air. And on this side, we have the purple on the majority of the lid. And I love how it turned out. I love the shine, especially when you build it up and pair with Ignite, that coppery orange shade with the coral matte to buff out the edges of the purple. And I wanted to bring in some of the magenta here on the lower lash line because I think, I mean, the magenta and the more royal looking purple together is just a beautiful pairing. On the lips, I have the Melt Cosmetics lipstick in the shade Mural, topped with Mented Cosmetics lip gloss in Send Nudes. I think this lipstick combination looks much better with the purple. However, I don't mind it with this. I mean, it's a little too warm, I get it. Might have paired this eye maybe with more like a beigey moment that's like pinkier in tone, but I really appreciate the smokiness because basically I combine these shades to show that you can get really gunmetal smoky with Jet and Ignite. No, I can't read. Jet and Drift, or even if you wanted to combine Radio and Jet or Guilt Trip and Jet, you could pretty much go however you want using this black. And it's like a satin black. It's not a total matte, which I feel makes it a little easier to work with. It's more skin-like in finish than a traditional black matte shade, and I feel that just gives you a little more versatility in the application. But again, you've heard me rave about this palette. I just love that there are so many shades in here that you can combine in several ways. You have a lot of color, but at the same time, you have a lot of neutral stories that you can create daily friendly looks with. You have two tones of brown. You have like the more plummy brown and you have the more neutral brown, with the more orange and magenta medium shades, and then a bunch of different coppery, bronzy, orangey types of satin and shimmer shades, right? But still you have the purple, and then you have the sea foam with the more, I said midnight blue is more like a green. I still think this is in the green family, and Wanderlust is more like a forest green shade, but it has such beautiful shine to it. You can go nuts, and despite how they're placed in the palette, it doesn't have to hold you to that structure. You could hop over to whatever shades you like. You can combine them however you like. I'm so happy that I hopped on camera, dived back into the palette to create more looks because I was itching to, and looking at my old footage just inspires me to revisit these palettes that spur my interest again, and just to film the tutorials better, and also I have better brushes. That's another thing too, diving back into these eyeshadow palettes that might not have been the easiest for me to blend, but now they are. This was easy for me to blend, but now it's like a breeze, and I think the brushes have helped. And again, it's another reason for me to dive back into these palettes that I own already, just to try the new brushes with, and to see where my blending is, and just to see where my technique is as well. Let me know if you have Urban Decay's Born to Run, if you haven't used it in a while, if you're gonna dive back in soon. And until then, friends, that is alright. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video helped, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and maybe consider subscribing to my channel. And until then, I'll see you on here again with another review, tutorial, palette revisiting, get ready with me, or nightly live chit chat. Take care, and I'll see you again soon. I'm so happy that I hopped on, went back into the palette. I'm so happy you can talk today. I'm so happy that I hopped on camera, dived back into the palette to